The rejection, the jealousy, and the rage behind the UC Santa Barbara massacre. There is new insight into what drove that killer. As the community gathers to mourn and the families of the dead students make their final arrangements. Hello everyone, I'm Ashley Banfield. It is Tuesday, May the 27th, and welcome to Legal View. It is a day of mourning for UC Santa Barbara today as the community tries to pick up the pieces after yet another mass killing. Families of the 6 victims who were killed are torn apart. And don't forget, there were so many others as well who were injured. The father of Veronica Weiss, who was killed outside a sorority house, says he cannot believe how his family has now joined the ranks of so many others killed by a deranged gunman.
This is something I don't have any experiences close to this in my life. When somebody close to you dies, reach out to the survivors, because even though it feels awkward and you don't have anything to say, every little word, every little sentence on Facebook, it all means something. It means that you're not alone.
And while he may be in shock, the father of Christopher Martinez, who was killed at a deli, well, he was far more outraged, and he had this powerful message.
I can't tell you how angry I am. It's just awful. And no parent should have to go through this. No parent. To have a kid die because in this kind of a situation, what has changed? Have we learned nothing? These things are going to continue until somebody does something. So where the hell is the leadership? Where the hell is these people we elect to Congress that we spend so much money on? These people are getting rich sitting in Congress. And what do? They don't take care of our kids. My kid died because nobody responded to what occurred at Sandy Hook. Those parents lost little kids. It's bad enough that I lost my 20-year-old, but I had 20 years with my son. That's all I ever have. But those people lost their children at 6 and 7 years old. How do you think they feel? And who's talking to them now? Who's doing anything for them now? Who is standing up for those kids that died back then in an elementary school? Why wasn't something done? It's outrageous.
It is so hard to hear that much pain, that much anger, and that question, why didn't anyone do something? It's being asked in many different ways today as well. Could this attack have been prevented? Because sheriff's deputies did visit the killer, Elliot Roger, less than a month ago after someone from a mental health agency contacted them. Even his family noticed his videos online talking about suicide and killing people and made a notification. But when the deputies showed up, Rodgers said it was all a misunderstanding, and he was pretty smooth too, because the officer said he seemed timid and polite, very articulate, and not violent, and nothing was a red flag to them, so they left. Here's what's really tough to stomach. Rodger wrote in his manifesto about what he was thinking as the cops were right there at his door. And I'm going to quote him. "I had the striking and devastating fear that someone had somehow discovered what I was planning to do and reported me for it. If that was the case, the police would have searched my room, found all of my guns and weapons, along with my writings about what I planned to do with them. I would have been thrown in jail, denied the chance to exact revenge on my enemies. I can't imagine a hell darker than that." I'm joined now by psychologist J. Buzz von Ornsteiner, CNN legal analyst Paul Callan, and CNN commentator Mel Robbins. Mel and Paul, first to you, it's so upsetting to see the writings as he looked those officers in the eye and smooth talked his way out of them just breaching that threshold and taking a look around. Paul, what stopped them from taking a look around, even if it would have only taken 5 more minutes out of their day?
You know, it's in retrospect, of course, it's so disturbing because we know what ultimately happened. But picture these police officers. They're coming into a situation where they don't have a search warrant, so they're not allowed to search his apartment without his permission. He hasn't given permission to do the search, nor have they inquired. And they also don't know about his 100,000 pages of twisted, bizarre writings. Now, had they had a little bit of knowledge of what he was posting on the internet, maybe they would have been more suspicious and sought to search. But he's savvy.
Okay,
he would have said no,
2020.
is my bet. He wouldn't have let them search.
Great point. Hindsight's 2020. So, Mel, if a mental health professional is calling the police,
yep,
doesn't that give them probable cause for a warrant?
No.
Shouldn't it be automatic?
No, and this is the problem. You watch that heartbreaking father saying what everybody in the wake of these senseless mass shootings says. Why is nothing done? And I'm going to tell you what the problem is, Ashley. The problem is that in 23 states, there is a legal definition for when you can commit somebody, and they have to be in imminent danger that they're going to harm themselves or harm somebody else. So when you take a cunning psychopath like this kid who's got major plans and can snap in and out of his rage, he has spent a lifetime, it sounds like, cunning the adults as he's building up his rage. And unless the police see, or unless somebody else, a mental health care professional, sees that he's an immediate threat to himself, you can't do anything.
Dr.
And
Bess,
that's the problem.
So I want to shift the focus a little bit onto that father. It breaks my heart every time I see him speak.
When we're trying to make sense of the senseless, and we're trying to fathom how this could have happened, and we're trying to focus on how this could have been avoided, I work with many, many parents who feel that same rage and that same anger and that same helplessness because they're trying to seek some kind of control and they're trying to see how this could have been avoided. What we're talking about is if we could only take that anger and that rage and fill it with avocation and advocate for that son or daughter before this happens, to really seek treatment and not seek treatment where they're going behind closed doors with a psychologist or they're going behind closed doors with a social worker or psychiatrist. The family needs to be involved. The family needs to be part of that treatment. The family needs to be integrated with their son or daughter who clearly is going through some kind of turbulence, either emotional, situations within their brain, has a personality disorder, has anger issues, but is in isolation. They're in isolation, and any of us in isolation, when we're left alone, our thoughts do become skewed. We need to interact. We need to be part of this living, breathing world.
I feel as though that is not going to be the last time we see that soundbite. I think there will be many who seize on it for their purposes, whether for or against, for that very reason.